the concern, the issue that I had presented was it's not a shortage of resource up there. That is the reason why we are at half capacity. It is because of policy decisions, whether it's denial of the air quality permit, or whether it's the impasse at CD5, or whether it's 30 years of blocking ANWR. The resource is there. We've got to have the ability to fill it up. And do you understand what it means to us? And of course, this was just as Egypt was starting to erupt, and we're all wondering what that means. This week it's Libya. Next week we don't know who it's going to be. But what I tried to press was we're going to be seeing, I believe, $4 at the pump prices, I think, by Memorial Day. It might even be sooner if things really go south in North Africa. I think that energy and energy policy can be one of those areas that really does not have to be partisan. I view it much more regionally than on a partisan basis. It's not just Republicans that like nuclear power. It happens to be Democrat senators that come from areas that don't have hydro or coal or natural gas. They like nuclear. So it ought not be so politically divisive, let's put it that way. But it has, when the issue of climate and climate change became snarled up, as it did several years back, that's where I think we really, really got partisan. I'll segue a little bit to again repeat my concern that by taking away the ability to provide for earmarks, we're not doing anything to reduce the amount of spending. What we're doing is we're shifting to the administration, to the agencies, the ability to prioritize the spending that we go ahead and we set that top line, but then within the agencies, they're going to determine it. Is it wise for us to be thinking about the changing dynamic? Absolutely. We are buried under a mountain of federal debt right now, and we are not going to be getting out of this in a short order. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get out overnight. And I think the days when we saw the federal largesse coming to us in waves, that's not going to be our reality. Now, having said all that, I think we have opportunities in Alaska that other states don't. You mentioned, other states being on the receiving end, or hopefully being on the receiving end of federal dollars to bail them out. I don't think that you've got the political stomach back in Congress to bail out California or Illinois, where we may have viewed that they haven't acted prudently, they haven't acted wisely. Alaska's sitting in a different spot. We, by the way, happen to have $40 billion in the bank. We happen to have a reserve fund that can allow for a cushion. But I think we also have to be pragmatic, that just like the federal treasury is not going to be unlimited, our state treasury will not remain this robust if we don't get our oil pipeline filled up. When you rely on your source of revenue, 87% of our state's revenue come from oil, and the only reason we've been holding steady is not because we've been producing more, but because the price has gone up. And so we're in a different situation in Alaska because we have cushion. But it's not a cushion that should make us feel relaxed and comfortable. I'm not giving up on requesting funding for an additional icebreaker. I think it's too critical for us as a nation. China has more icebreakers than we do as a nation. And we've got a role, we've got a responsibility, and it's a growing and evolving role up north. But you can't be a participant if you don't have the assets to be out there. And we're moving forward with the study for the deepwater port up north. The Coast Guard is very engaged in its assessment and understanding in terms of the needs and the assets, where they're going to have to be positioned. One of the things that I did discuss with the President when I met with him was my support for ratification of Law of the Sea Treaty. I happen to feel pretty strongly that when the United States has a clear opportunity to annex an area offshore that's the size of the state of California, that we ought to figure out how we're going to do that. And the only way that we can even get to the table to do that is if we've ratified that treaty. There's some political issues that will need to be resolved. But when you look to the world resources that, in terms of the reserves that we anticipate out there, it's suggested that 25% of the world's reserves are sitting up there in the Arctic. And if we think that everybody else is just going to sit back and wait until the United States is ready to do something up there, we're sorely mistaken.